couple of days later, I went back there, and he still had it in his hand. And as soon as I walked to the door, he started crying. And he said, "This is what it's all about." Good. My name's Kane Spalding. I am the owner at West Coast Fight Club in Ferndale, Washington. We really pride ourselves on building a strong team from the ground up. And I feel like no matter what struggles of life you come from, you have a home with us. And I think that really shines through with a lot of our members and our fighting spirit that we have here at West Coast. A little bit about me. I grew up right here in Birch Bay. We were pretty poor. We had to get buckets of water, just flush our toilets, and we had food stamps and all that stuff. Parents were into the drugs situation, so saw a lot of stuff that was pretty hard to deal with. A lot of arguing, a lot of fighting going on. I knew in my soul that it didn't feel right. A lot of that stuff didn't feel right, and I just kind of turned to other things, got into wrestling, and that really was a key pivotal point in my life that I feel like, okay, this is somewhere I belong. I feel like I can get all this tension that I've had built up throughout the years from different stuff in my life to where I can kind of focus on this and just kind of let it all out with that. Going through school, small school, single A, I ended up kind of bumping into, people that were similar backgrounds, poor. And obviously we became friends because they were dealing with a lot of the same struggles. So a lot of those friends, freshman, junior, senior, they started dealing drugs, a lot of those guys. And I didn't really take to that at all. I knew that wasn't my direction or my path, but I was still friends with them. I saw firsthand from my parents where that road goes, so that was kind of a blessing in disguise there. But I still remained friends with them and kind of hung out with them, but saw some of the stuff that they were doing I just didn't agree with, and continued wrestling, and then got into martial arts, I think my junior year. And then right here in Ferndale, Double Action Training Academy with Bob Anderson. And I really looked up to that guy at the time. Prior to that, let me back up a little bit. Before all that, my wrestling coach in Blaine, Craig Foster, he was the person that first saw me for me. I feel like a lot of us, when we're growing up, we have a small nitpick environment or whatever, and if you fit in here, you fit in there, or you don't fit in at all. And I feel like a lot of the teachers, a small school, they didn't know how to teach me. I was more worried about what I was going to eat that night than what this fraction problem was. So I had like real life stuff that I was dealing with, and they just kind of didn't give me the attention that I needed. So it was like I struggled in school a little bit, but I graduated and everything. But it was people like Craig Foster, my wrestling coach, that saw me for me, and he saw that I had drive and motivation, and I was there to work. I was there to put in the work and do what I could to not only help the team, but to kind of help everybody, as whether they're walking from a nice, well-rounded family structure or from a broke and single mom or whatever type of family. And Craig Foster saw that in me, and didn't view me how a lot of other people viewed me. My senior year, I got charged with a second-degree assault. And in high school, I wasn't a bully. I didn't ever pick on people, but if I saw people getting picked on, I wasn't okay with that. So there was guys always picking on these guys, and I would just be the one to say, "Hey, that's not okay." And then they're going to mouth off to me, and I ended up getting in fights a lot. And anyhow, I ended up getting thrown in juvie for a while, and my senior year. And I remember Craig Foster came to court on my behalf, and he wrote this long letter about me and how I helped the team, and just hearing his perspective on me was really, really eye-opening. And he ended up getting me, because of what he did and wrote, I was able to get out for school release and wrestling practice. So I was basically just sleeping there. After that, years went by. I went off to college. And then 4 or 5 years later, I came back. I wrote this essay while I was in college called The Wind in My Sail. And it talked about people like him, Bob Anderson, people that had a strong influence in my life that really I looked up to, like, what's this guy doing? I like what he's got going on. I like how he talks to people. I like how he treats people. So I looked up to these people because of the way they were walking through life and dealing with their situations. So when I wrote this essay, The Wind in My Sail, it talked about people like him and the influence and the impact that they had on me. And it was a lot of it was for me, just to kind of take a step back and acknowledge, how did I get from there to here? When my brother ended up over there, all my friends ended up on the wrong path. But I remember looking back and seeing it was this guy, this moment, and this guy that influenced me. And so years later, I go give Craig Foster. He was still coaching. I bring him the essay, and a couple of days later, I went back there, and he still had it in his hand. And as soon as I walked to the door, he started crying, and he said, "This is what it's all about." And it was like, prior to that, I didn't realize how big of a thing that was. But I think in that moment, I realized, man, it doesn't take much to just be grateful for those things. And now I'm in a position to be able to do the same thing for kids and adults, just people in general. I think there's a lot of broken spirits out there. And this is a place where we take the broken and just build a hard structure from the ground up. And that's kind of what West Coast is about. Good. Again, just like that, nice and slow. We'll progressively speed up.